everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Very, very special guest today, 8-time Mr. Olympia, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Please welcome from Arlington, Texas, Ronnie Coleman. How are you, Ronnie?
Oh, doing pretty good.
And who is this next to you?
Oh, that's Layla.
Layla, okay.
Youngest daughter.
She's the youngest?
Yeah.
Hi. Hey, Layla. She about, I'm going to guess, let's say 4?
6.
Oh, 6, okay. Had me fooled there. It's the lighting. Okay.
Yeah, you were pretty close, yeah.
6? No, not that close.
If you see her standing up, you wouldn't have guessed that.
So how old is your oldest child at this point?
One here?
No, like you have, I think you have 8 kids, right?
Oh, yeah. Oldest, 36.
Okay, you got me beat. Mine's going to be 27 soon, so okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying, Ronnie. I'm trying. But so we haven't talked since before the Olympia, and the last time we were talking, the discussion was basically around: do you think Phil Heath can win and get the tie for the record that you and Lee Haney had, eight Olympia titles, and that didn't happen, unfortunately. But we have a new Mr. Olympia. This is actually the 4th Mr. Olympia in 4 years. It's been a different guy every year in a row for 4 years now, which is pretty crazy because, you know, most of my bodybuilding career as a fan and a journalist and everything, it's been dynasties. You were Mr. Olympia forever. Lee Haney was Mr. Olympia forever. Dorian was Olympia for quite a long time. But to see these guys, it change hands like that, it's crazy. Did you expect in the last few years to see a different person win every year like this?
No, not really.
I mean,
I thought it'd stay like it. I thought it'd be like it been, you know.
Yeah. Did you think Phil was going to keep winning forever?
I knew Phil was kind of like, you know, coming to an end. The year that he lost, I thought he had won the show, but you know, they saw it differently. So I guess that was pretty much the end of his, you know, reign or whatever.
Right. Well, so now we have the first. So I'm going to say Roden was probably about 240. I'm going to guess Phil like 240 to 250, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Who else have we had? Brandon, he's in the 240 to 250 range. We haven't had someone this massive as Mr. Olympia basically since you. Someone that was 290 pounds, and that was a slimmed down version of Ramy, because he won a show in Brazil years back at 310 or 315. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you can't step on Olympia like that.
No, he wasn't. I don't think he was the most conditioned 315 at all. Trust me, I'm sure he wasn't. But it was enough to win that lineup. But so I'm sure you've heard all these comparisons now. People putting out videos and posts with pictures of you on one side and Ramy on the other side, and they're arguing about who's the king of all freaks. You know, big Ronnie or Big Ramy. So. First of all, I wanted to ask you, who do you think carried more mass? Because you're probably about the same height, I think.
Yeah, I think what I was looking at, I think I carried a little bit more than he did. Yeah. I might be a little bit taller than him too.
Yeah, because you were 5'10" and a half.
Yeah.
You know, in your younger years, we all get shorter as we get older.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you, young guys. You're not going to be this tall forever. You will start to come. But yeah, you were 5'10" and a half. Thereabouts, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know, you were on stage at the 03 or 04 Olympia. Was that the one you were 296?
Yeah, 04. Yeah. 03 I was 286.
Yeah. But, you know, it's not just about the weight. It's the muscles having a certain look. Do you think you carried your mass differently than Ramy? What differences you see in the physiques when you look at him and remember how you were at your prime of that size?
Yeah, everybody's body is different, you know. My body's more proportioned equally, you know. I didn't have real big legs and not real big arms. I had, you know, big legs and big arms, and you know, big back, big chest, big everything. His mass is distributed lower, more of his lower extremities than anywhere. His legs kind of overshadow his upper body just a little bit. He can bring his upper body up or bring his lower body down to, you know, fix that, which is an easy fix. But right now, you know, that's just the way it is right now.
So, you know, if he came to you for advice, and maybe he will, who knows, because you guys have a friend in common, Chad. What would you tell him? Would you tell him stop training your quads or lay off your quads for a little while? What advice would you give this guy?
Yeah, you know what? I quit training my arms for a while, because I thought they were getting a little bit too big. So with him, he probably could, not train his legs for a little while or not train them as hard, just cut back on them just a little bit. And I'm quite sure, or he could just train the upper body, twice as hard.
Yeah. So,
Couple ways.
when I look at the two physiques, I see a difference in the muscle, what they used to call muscle quality. I don't know if they even use that term anymore, but you had more detail, you had deeper separations than Ramy, because you're both pretty much the same size. If you go by the scale and maybe you wrap the tape measure, you probably aren't that different in terms of just the mass, but it did have a different look on you than it has on him. Do you think that's just genetics? You had different genetics, or do you think it was your training style versus the way he trains?
Yeah, it got a lot to do with all that you just brought up. It got to do with a lot to do with training, a lot to do with genetics, a lot to do with conditioning too.
Mm.
I'm quite sure if he can be a little bit more conditioned, in some areas on the body, especially his legs. I'm quite sure if he brought some of that down, it also make his body look a lot better, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the areas that people keep putting pictures of, is his back shots. The lower back you had. Yeah, I got pictures, a poster of it somewhere where you're going into like the rear lat spread, but first you crunch it all back and you see the Christmas tree. You see all
Yeah.
that crazy dry detail in the spinal erectors in your lower back, and he doesn't really have that yet. I don't know if he's going to get that because I've seen him train in videos. I've never seen him train in person, but it's a lot of machines. He does heavy dumbbells and stuff too, for sure. He's not a weak guy, but you were using world-class power lifter poundages in your workouts every day
Yeah.
while you were Mr. Olympia. Did that give your muscles a different look?
Oh yeah, for sure. I trained a lot heavier, like twice as heavier than these guys do today. I do different exercises too. I don't know a lot of them that do squats and deadlifts and bent over rows, T-bar rows and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, they do a lot of different machines and everything. Of course, that's gonna make the biggest difference, especially when you train heavy.
Yeah.
I've seen the difference in somebody's body when they train heavy as when they don't train as heavy. Like
Mm.
even with Phil Heath, he didn't have the same kind of conditioning and the same kind of quality of hardness that I had and thickness that I had because of the way he trained. But
Yeah.
yeah, some guys probably will never get like that because I don't think they really have it in them. You got to have that in you to train like that. You know,
True, true.
just
Yeah, because even Dennis James said when he's in Kuwait or Egypt, he's in Egypt now. He doesn't think he trains that hard on his own, but when he's there in Arizona training with Dennis pushes him to the limits and makes him train closer to your style of training. At least taking him to that level of intensity and effort that probably he can't do on his own. But
no, there's no
yeah.
way he can do that on his own. Especially not the only time he's doing it is when Dennis was with it. You got to do something like that full time. I did it full time, year round, all the time.
True, true. Yeah, I saw it. So
Yeah.
going back to body weight, a lot of people thought you looked your best at lighter body weights. Like people always talk about your first two Olympia wins, 98, 99, and the year you won the Arnold Classic was 2002, I believe.
One,
And,
yeah.
was it 2001? Yeah, that's right. So, you were probably in that 245, 250 range for all those shows, were you not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you feel, looking back at those pictures and videos from those shows, you were able to bring a different crispness, a different level of condition and dryness that you couldn't when you were 270, 280, 290?
Yeah, for sure. Because once you get a certain size, there's only so much conditioning you can have. You know, it's like a double-edged sword. On one side, it's gonna be sharp if you come in with a lot of size and conditioning. The other way, you come in also kind of sharp. You're gonna be a lot sharper, with less size and conditioning.
Yeah.
So you can't have both. Is what I'm
True.
trying to say.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, he came down to 290, which sounds ridiculous, but this is a guy that's been 300 and over. If you were his coach or mentor, and obviously he already has those people in his camp, but would you advise him to try to come in even a little bit lighter and more conditioned at the next Olympia if he wants to keep that title?
Yeah. If that's, what they're looking for, it all goes by what they're looking for the most part, If he could, if he can beat them like that, you might as well just stay like that, If he can't, then you have to change it.
Yeah.
You
Did
know?
you watch the live stream or the pay-per-view?
No, I
Couldn't,
just
but
I love it.
yeah, she watched it. Okay.
Yeah.
But because I'm wondering, do you think there's anybody out there right now that could beat this guy, Ramy, next year? Actually, this year we're in 2021. I keep thinking we're stuck in 2020 forever, but no, we're in a new year finally. Yeah. Do you see anybody that could beat him next time?
I
Assuming he's on. Obviously, if he's off, anybody can be beaten.
Yeah. I mean, if he just does what he did this year, I don't really see it.
Yeah,
He
true.
comes in pretty much the same or better. I'm quite sure. Hopefully, he'll be better.
Right. So we do these people put on these virtual pose downs, pictures of you next to Ramy and everything. I don't know if you've seen any of them. You probably don't even bother to look at those things. But knowing what Ramy looks like, would you give him any poses over you? Do you think he could beat you in any of the mandatory poses?
And now with that condition he got now, he got to get a lot sharper.
Mm.
And it's like I said, a lot of it had to do with genetics too. Uh, my muscles have a certain kind of roundness that his doesn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's everybody got their own era.
Right.
So uh, guys he facing now,
Yeah.
he's
True.
not really facing anybody with any
True.
a whole lot of round muscle like I used to carry.
I mean, if you think about it, the only people that were at that Olympia that had that real round look, what was that I can think of, would say Phil Heath. I didn't see it on anybody else. It's a
No.
it's a rare quality, and you had that. It makes it look like the muscle is kind of like hanging off the bone. That's
Yeah.
the you could have a 23-inch arm that's angular with a guy with big joints, and it doesn't look that impressive. But then you
Yeah.
have a guy with little tiny elbows and little wrists, and it just jumps off the bone. It looks so much crazier and fuller.
Exactly.
And that's why I think even at the same body weight, if you and Ramy were both exactly the same height and weight, I still think you looked bigger. Just that roundness just creates an illusion like a Marvel Comics character, superhuman
Exactly.
look. So
Exactly.
Just play football, Dad.
what'd you say?
Yeah.
I missed it. Was it relevant to the conversation at all? If so, I want to repeat it.
Oh, no, you were just talking about how I hurt my back.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. It's funny. I went back and looked at that old video of yours again from 1992, and you're already talking about your back had been hurt for a long time at that point.
Yeah.
You had just turned pro at that point. So
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah. I heard a lot of people don't know I hurt my back in college, and actually I hurt it in high school first, and then I messed it up real bad in college, to the point where I had to go to chiropractor like every day for a while.
yeah. I think
And
you said for a whole year or 2 years you went to chiropractor. Like,
now my whole 4 years of college I had to go.
oh man, geez.
Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah, man. That goes. High school would have been. Let's see. You would have graduated high school probably around 82, 81
Yeah,
or 82. So man,
82.
so wow, you hurt your back a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah, long, long time ago.
Yeah. People think it all happened during that one video, The Unbelievable, when you were squatting and all that and deadlifting. They think that's when you did all the damage right there. But no,
I didn't do no damage whatsoever then.
you're still a stallion at that point, firing on all cylinders.
Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do all that if my back was been hurting a lot back then.
Right. Yeah, you can't put 800 pounds on an injured back. It would just snap.
Exactly.
Man, I've seen it happen too. So talking about multiple wins, it's pure speculation, but unless somebody comes along that's another freak like Ramy, how long do you think he could potentially hold this title for?
He probably do at least another 45 years, I'm thinking.
Okay.
You never know how when somebody's gonna come up uh, out of nowhere. But just in the foreseeable future, coming from guys competing in the amateurs and stuff now, there's nobody really coming up
True.
that challenging.
Yeah.
All his challenge is right where he's at now. On the pro level. So it's gonna be a
he does have the same coach that took you to 8 Olympia titles, Chad Nichols.
yeah.
So, that a lot of people are talking about. They think that was the missing ingredient. Not that the Camel crew, they're not good at what they do in coaching, and they've got all these stables of tremendous superstar athletes. But Ramy was never able to get into the condition that we wanted him to until Chad took the reins and took over his diet and his cardio and all that. When you heard Chad was working with him, did you immediately think we're going to see a big change in Ramy from what we've been seeing all these years?
Oh yeah, I had even told Giles that I think he could win when I heard Chad was working with him.
Yeah, yeah.
So I knew right then and there it was going to be a big change. It started at the Arnold because he was working with him at the Arnold Classic too.
Right.
And that was the best he probably ever looked in a while. And I said it's just going to only get better. Because that's the same thing that I did. I was working with Chad, Night of Champions in Canada, and those few shows leading up to the Olympia.
Right.
That same year I won the Olympia, and I just got better. As I went on into the Olympia. Of course I won the shows.
Right.
Going into the Olympia, but I just got better. People were speculating Flex was going to still take it all.
We all thought that. Everybody thought that.
They wouldn't feel anything about me because I hadn't got there yet. I didn't get there until the Olympia. And I think same thing with Ramy. He hadn't got there by the Arnold Classic, but by the time Olympia came around, he got there.
Right. So if Dennis James was talking about, he believes that Ramy never really had to suffer when he was being coached over in Kuwait and prepped and everything. They didn't want to see him suffer. They didn't want him to starve, so they kept feeding him. They didn't want him to do too much cardio because they didn't want him to lose any size or fullness. But Chad obviously is an expert with working with very large men. I mean, you were one of the biggest of all time. He worked with the late Dallas McCarver. Was he afraid to make you suffer? What was like the last month like for you? What did he take your carbs down to? How much cardio would Chad put you on?
I was doing 2 hours a day and probably like 150, 125 grams of carbs a day.
Oof. And that's a 300-pound man.
That's 330.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, how much did you suffer? Were those last few weeks before every Olympia, were they really mentally grueling for you?
No, the whole diet was mentally grueling.
Yeah. Was it worse when you're still working or work for the police department, or was it worse when you weren't?
Huh?
Was the final part of prep worse when you still had to go to a job at the police department, or was it worse when you didn't have that to sort of distract you?
You know what? Because I was so distracted by the diet and everything, it really didn't play any part in it. I was still pretty much distracted either way it went.
Yeah.
I probably got a chance to do something different. When I was able to go to work, and not have to think about it all the time.
Yeah, I mean that I've talked to people who are full-time bodybuilders who don't have to do anything else, and there are a lot of pros who do. They train people all day, or they have other things going on, and they say, "Thank God I have that, because otherwise I'd be just thinking about the next meal I want to eat that I can't eat yet because it's not time and I'm starving, or how tired I am, or this and that." So just to wrap up the whole Ramy thing, some people think it's a trend now that we have this mass monster as Mr. Olympia. They think that's a new standard, and now that the bigger guys are going to do better at the Olympia, but like I said, we've had 4 different Mr. Olympias in 4 years. Do you think Ramy winning means there's any kind of trend we're going to see more mass monsters back? Because we haven't had a lot of mass monsters lately.
Yeah. I think for sure. What it all boils down to is shape and conditioning. Whether you have the mass or not, that's the guy that's going to win. You know, just like when Dexter beat Jay, you know, it was all about Dexter was more conditioned than Jay. You know, but Jay was a lot bigger, but Dexter had the conditioning. So I think as long as you have the conditioning, you're gonna be all right. You know,
Yeah.
as long as you have that in shape, you know, you're gonna be just fine, regardless of what size you are.
Right on. So we might have potentially 3 former Olympia champs this year trying to get their titles back. I'd love to see Sean Roden back in there. I'd love Phil to come back and try it again. Of course, we know Brandon Curry, he's going to try to get his title back. Out of those 3 guys, if you're a gambling man, who would you put your money on as having the best chance of getting the title back?
Getting the title back,
Yeah.
I probably Brandon.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough, because he's had no time off. He's just getting better.
He had no time off. Sean, he's had some years off. You know, Phil, same thing. You know, plus you know, with the physique he got now, you know, he never win with that.
Well, I mean, you called that because the last time we talked, you did say it's really hard to come back when you've been away from the show, from the Olympia for a couple of years. And
Yeah.
very few people are ever, well, no one's ever come back and look as good as they did. It's just, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. And like I said, yeah, Phil's probably chances are over now. You know, now that he didn't get it this time, I think he'd have had a better chance if he'd just stuck with it.
Yeah, true. So what do you got going on right now? Ronnie Coleman Signature Series doing very well. I just checked my Instagram. I saw Coleman Athletics, your apparel company, got a bunch of new releases. Guys, check that out. Coleman Athletics on Instagram.
Yeah.
And, what else are you working on?
I'm working on trying to do a training app also here pretty soon.
Excellent.
So I'm gonna actually train people like one-on-one type training.
Okay. You're gonna get people back into the free weights, get them away from all these machines and cables.
Exactly. I that's what I did when I did the video for the training. I used mostly free weights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, barely any. If you look at all your videos, at least when you were training back home in Texas, very few machines, very few.
Yeah,
Barbells and dumbbells.
It was very few machines in Metroflex.
It's true. It's true. And the ones they had were probably older than both of us.
Exactly. Yeah, they all work pretty. They work pretty good though. Still.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, the old machines to me they're the best. I don't like most of the new stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are the best.
What's going on? How are you doing? Are you back walking a little better, a little less pain? What's going on?
Yeah. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to do stem cell for the most part. I've done one so far. That helped out a lot. I'm trying to do another one coming up here, and hopefully it'll help out a whole lot too. So the more I do, I think the better I'll get. I hadn't got where I want to be because I'm not, you know, still walking unassisted. So once I get there, then you know I'll be where I want to be.
Excellent. Well, we're all rooting for you, Ronnie. You know, you kind of gave up your life for bodybuilding, for the fans, for everything. You know, you did things in the gym that no one had ever done before, and you inspired millions and millions of us. So, you know, we want you to be out of pain. We want you walking normally and all that. You know, enjoy your twilight years with no pain and great mobility. So, hoping for the best for you, Ronnie.
Yeah, thank you. I gladly gave it up.
Yeah, you did. But and no regrets. The only regret is you didn't squat 800 for more reps. That's the only regret.
That's the only regret I can think of right now.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people I talk to still talk about that documentary that they saw on Netflix, because millions and millions of people saw it who have no idea about bodybuilding. They could care less about bodybuilding, but they would ask me about it because they knew who I was, and they'd say, you know what, I saw this Netflix thing about this guy Ronnie Coleman. Have you ever heard of him? I go, yeah, I've heard of him. He was really good. I said, that was crazy. I said, yeah, but he's still got a smile on his face, and he's got a positive attitude. He's not crying and moaning and wah, poor me. That's not him. Yeah. So,
no, not at all. Never
not at all. The opposite. The opposite.
I don't know what that is.
Well, thank you so much, Ronnie. Happy New Year. Hope you're having a good one so far.
Oh yeah.
We're all praying for a better 2021. Yeah.
Got that right.
Okay. Cool, man. I appreciate it, Ronnie. Thank you so much.
All right,
And
man.
everybody,
We'll be talking to you.
yeah, check it out. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
All right.